We are live. Today we talk about Midnight Run. Let's review this. How are you, Matt?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm happy to be there finally in this new year. So good year for all of you guys.
Well, we had a very interesting start. We did miss you a lot. I'm glad to see you again. Happy New Year.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
glad
glad
to be
Welcome
here.
back.
glad to have you back, man.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Amazing. So, Superbald, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. I'm very tired. I'm very tired. I'm recovering from a nasty cold. Again, I'm getting all of them this year.
Uh,
Didn't sleep much last night, but I'm doing all right. Otherwise,
I feel you, man. I feel you. What about you, Gray? How are you today?
For the most part, I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I'm happy to be talking about an interesting movie, a really classic one. But yeah, I'm feeling a lot of what Superbald's saying. I'm also super tired, and for some reason, I just couldn't sleep. Maybe it's the anxiety of talking about this amazing movie, but I doubt it. Just life. How you doing, Multi?
Doing great. It's 2025. I've seen lots of movies already, and I cannot wait to talk about Midnight Run. You surprised me with that one. I guess this is the perfect time for this. So, Gray, why Midnight Run?
yeah. Why?
Well, to me, this is like the quintessential kind of what would you call that? Odd couple on the road movie. There's been a ton of these. Like it's not a trope that hasn't been done kind of to death, but to me, this is kind of the best iteration of it. And Multi has a thing against older movies, and this one to me really kind of stacks up, even with the fact that everything about, say, the airport travel has completely changed with this movie. It just seems completely farcical, but still. So I don't know. This one just really holds up for me, and it's got a shitload of nostalgic value. I think this was, if it's not my dad's favorite, it has to be the movie that I've watched the most with him. So I don't know. I just wanted to throw this before Multi to try and get him to tear it down because he's got this bias against older movies, and this would definitely count because this was before 2010, which he considers an old movie. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Damn.
so that's the main
that
reason. But other than that, it's my favorite De Niro movie. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that
Really?
one out there. I think
Favorite?
so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
amazing. So I guess that's the reason, and I was surprised because I actually like that old movie, and it's very old because it's older than me.
All movies are good.
Not always, not always.
I don't like it when you say stuff like that because I was alive when this movie was made.
I think Ray as well. I'm too young, I guess. So I guess I will let Superbald go first because he says he was around when the movie came out.
I
So
was around, but I was very young, so I'm not. I'm old, but I'm not that old. Um, I thought I had seen this, but watching it, nothing was coming back to me. So I guess maybe I didn't, or I might have confused it with another movie. That being said, I've really enjoyed it. It's a quintessential '80s movie. It's very '80s. Um, but De Niro gave a solid performance as he does always. Charles Grodin was good. And I was actually a bit. It was a bit weird to see him in this kind of movie because like a lot of people my age, I know him more from family friendly fare. Like the Beethoven movies, things like that. Um, uh, Good actors though. Joe Pantoliano, who, as most people, I really just knew him as Cypher from The Matrix. John Ashton, who actually I think passed away not too long ago. He was in Beverly Hills Cop. Um, Yaphet Kotto, who played Alonzo Mosley. Uh, Total coincidence, but like just last week, a coworker of mine was telling me that he actually served him once in a video store that he used to work in Nova Scotia. He came in to rent a movie years ago, and just coincidence, he was in the movie that we're reviewing. Dennis Farina playing a very Dennis Farina type of character. Um, the whole plot, though, regarding the bail bonds and bounty hunter, you really have to know what that is, because here in Canada that doesn't exist. We don't have stuff like that. That's a very American thing, but you have to be familiar with that. I was just from movies and Dog the Bounty Hunter and stuff like that. Um, as Gray was saying, yeah, this is a road movie. It's not the first and it wasn't the last. It really reminded me a lot of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is my favorite road movie. Mind you, this one was very good though.
Which coincidentally
Um,
came out 1 year before this movie.
true, true,
87. This is
and
88.
yeah. One thing I found kind of interesting about this movie is that the MacGuffin was a person. It was the Charles Grodin's character. Everybody was after him. I don't know if that's ever been done in a movie before, where the MacGuffin is actually a person. Um, yeah, I was surprised to see in the credits that Danny Elfman did the score, because it's very unlike his other scores that he's known for. Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands and the Simpsons theme and all that. It was a very 80s score, very quintessential 80s score. I believe this was directed by Martin Brest. The only other movie of his that I saw was Beverly Hills Cop. I looked up his IMDb. He did direct Meet Joe Black, which I've seen parts of, but I've never seen the whole thing. And I may or may not have seen Scent of a Woman. I'm not sure. I do remember that being a big hit at the when it came out, but I don't remember if I saw it. I would have to rewatch it to be sure. Um, yeah, so this was a what they call an action comedy, and I think Martin Brest helped to pioneer that, because a lot of the first like I think the first movie of that genre that was a big success was either, I don't know which one came first, 48 Hours or Beverly Hills Cop, but he directed Beverly Hills Cop. So if he wasn't the first, he was among the first, and he helped to pioneer that genre, and that was really big in the 80s. And I don't really think they do that anymore, like sort of like action comedies. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
We will let Matt talk about his experience with Midnight Run.
So first of all, I never heard of this movie before this podcast, and I'm happy to discover this movie with Robert De
Discover.
Niro. Discover this movie with Robert De Niro. I'm a fan of this actor, and happy to see new movie with him in it. And yeah, like Superbald say, is a 80 formula type of movie. Action comedy, road trip. Many of movie exist in this era with the same premise, and his work is a good concept, and this movie worked pretty great. Is particularly with the duo with the two actor with Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. I don't know Charles Grodin before. I don't think I see a movie with it in, but now I want to see a more movie with him. I think he's pretty funny in this movie, and this duo with the new work are pretty great. And the
Yeah,
concept.
he did a lot of comedies in the 80s. And I don't know if you might have seen these when you were a kid, the Beethoven movies with the dog. He was in those as well.
Ah, okay. I see this movie. I not have a memory of that, man.
Mhm.
I know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
I will do research after that for sure. I do a research about this movie. I'm surprised to discover this movie have three sequel, but not with the Neo. With
Uh Yeah,
with
they're
the
direct to TV ones. They really shouldn't count.
3 sequels?
yeah,
Oh,
with the
really? This is. Oh, I did not
They
know
found
that.
many ways to ruin it, I can bet,
Yeah, but
because
as
the
Grace said,
original is
they
good.
were TV movies, so that's probably
yeah.
why we never heard of them.
Three TV movie with the Christopher McDonald. You take the
Oh,
place of
Shooter
De Niro.
McGavin.
Or the
uh,
dad from SLC Punk.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a
Oh,
good,
SLC
good.
Punk is one of my favorite movies. It's it's on the list that I gave to Malty.
Oh, okay. I don't know if the sequel is good, but this one is pretty solid for what he offer. A good action comedy. I like the action portion, the sequence with the helicopter and the river is well done for what it is. It's not a big movie, but you see the this well crafted for what for the sequence for the pursuit. And this movie can remind me the I don't have the name, but the movie with the Chevy Chase, and you need to go to New York to LA with another guy, and not everything go wrong. Is a comedy from the 80s. You have a remake with Robert De Niro and Zach Galifianakis. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, the one with Zach Galifianakis is called
Due
Due
date
Date.
is the
Hey,
Yeah.
the original
I didn't know that was a remake.
yeah, it's a remake. The original with Chevy Chase, and the concept is kind of similar. Men need to go to New York to LA to go to this. This wife she have a baby, and he tried to take the plane, but the other guys. Do something, and the two guys are kicked out of the plane and need to travel all the country and the car and the bus and the train, and nothing go right. This movie might night run remember me that the same thing. The character of Robert De Niro is a bounty hunter. He goes LA to New York to find this account, work for the mob, and you need to take back him to LA. But nothing go right. He can't take the plane, the train not work, the bus go wrong, the car not work either. Is a beautiful chaos to follow this trip, and I like that. It worked for me. I like the character played by John Ashton. Other than the Beverly Cop movie, is the only movie I see in. I think it's pretty funny. He's played this bounty hunter, kind of stupid, and he tried to be like a brute. I don't know the term in English. Like a simple man who forced with the strength to take the account, and he worked with that. And I see this movie is a big success. It was nominated in the Golden Globe in the year it was released. I understand why it's a good movie. I don't know. You need three sequel about this movie, but for that's one, and with the Robert De Niro is a fine movie to discovery, and is a one. I don't think Robert De Niro does many comedy movie. I remember, but he work and comedy. He is perfect for drama, for action movie, but and comedy he worked good either. This movie proved that. I think it's a 18 movie you need to see when you want to see movie for this from this era. I think I say pretty much about all I want to say about this movie. It's a good comedy action movie, and Charles Grodin. I want to see more of him, so I will research after the podcast for more movie with him. So yeah.
Do you want to add anything?
I don't think so. Like I say, I think I'll talk about everything I want to talk. Yeah, so I will let Gray or you to talk about this movie.
Yeah, I just want to add something. Matt said something really interesting though. That De Niro is good in this comedy and other comedies I've seen him. Just I think because what he does in those roles is he doesn't try to be funny. He plays the role straight, which makes it even more hilarious.
Yeah, he's so straight.
He's always the straight man in those types of comedies.
Yeah, he's good for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's an asset. And I will start by saying again, that movie surprised me. I only had 2 issues with it, but despite that, I was very entertained from start to finish, and I didn't expect that from a very old movie. I
Not
just don't
very old.
expect that.
Don't say that to
Somewhat
Super.
older movie.
Yeah, dude.
This is what happens when you're young, as they say. So my first issue with Midnight Run. So early in the movie, it made sense. The other bounty hunter know where the main character was as he was following the credit card. It also made sense the FBI know because of the hire. However, later on the main character no longer has his credit card and he misled in purpose the FBI. People are still able to know exactly where he was out of convenience, so there's more action pieces. Uh,
Uh, out of curiosity, I want to kind of push back on that. Which part in particular? Like when they jump on the train?
uh, that was after the train. That was later. That was like one of the last few action piece. I can't quite remember, but I know that's after the train because I remember marking that one down much later in the movie. So that was near the end.
So then what part did they so the FBI would still be on their trail. So they're still trying to find the Duke, and then they got the report that hey, there's this person pretending to be Agent Alonzo Mosley of the FBI, and he just said that these bills were counterfeit. So they tracked them to the train thing, and he has reports that they got on the
I,
train.
I
So they'd be going
remembered
through that same path.
I
And,
remember marking down
the guy from
later
the
than this.
bar saw him get on the train as well.
Again,
Yeah.
I said that's after this. So
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well,
unfortunately
you know the
it's
direction they're going and when they've got to be there. So you know they're somewhere between the train and there. And then you have this report of all these police cars crashing in the desert. You could pretty much be assured that this helicopter that was shooting at these random cars and then had this police chase, it does to me make sense that they're tracking this fugitive. But
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that would draw attention.
yeah, maybe
You know, a
I
helicopter shooting at people. You know, that
yeah,
that tends to draw attention
yeah.
from law enforcement.
Yeah, it happens. But my second issue was that helicopter thing where people cannot aim. People must aim. Please, I'm so tired of like people trading shots but not getting injured.
Yeah.
Um,
dude, we've been over this numerous times. That is a you problem, and it exists in reality. And you want this heightened reality where everybody is a marksman, despite the fact that
yeah,
things are moving and everything
hell
is
yeah.
moving around them. Where if you look at most trained actual police officers who go through intense training to be in a firefight, to be in an intense training, to be in an intense situation, and still manage their guns, still most pistol shootouts they miss. Now, when you add somebody moving like in a vehicle and you've got a moving helicopter, you're adding way more elements to this. I think it is a very unrealistic thing to say these guys didn't shoot great shots. That being said, the guy on the roof at the bus station, that dude didn't have anything moving around him. He should have been able to take a shot.
Oh,
Like that
definitely,
one, yes. But
definitely.
the helicopter, I
Definitely.
don't know, man.
Yeah, dude. Like I have actually witnessed somebody get shot. Okay,
Oh,
That must be
and
ugly.
yes, yeah, it's not an experience I care to repeat, but the person who was firing at the other person was literally like 2 feet away, fire and still missed him. Like he did hit him, but most of the shots missed.
That's a great marksman there. But these were my only 2 issues, and
No,
because
that's an
guys pushed
average
back.
person there. That was a trained individual, most likely. That's the problem.
So these were my issues, and there's just so much to like. Again, I thought the action was very entertaining. The characters were funny. They lie to each other. They have that chemistry that's very enjoyable, and uh, I thought about that credit card being canceled that easily, but then I remember it's 1988, so I guess that was easier back then to cancel credit card. Uh, the other thing is the hints at the prisoner being a unreliable narrator was funny because he said, "Oh, I'm afraid of planes," but then later on he gets in the plane to escape. If I remember correctly, yeah, I think that's the thing that happens. That's the
Yeah,
gonna
he tries
pay
to
off.
steal a plane.
Yeah, that was funny. So again, the humor is probably the uh, the best thing about this movie. I think um, it's clever humor, and I gotta say, the main character backstory about refusing to be corrupt, uh, but losing his job in the process was kind of sad and funny at the same time. Um, Again, that movie has just so much going on, and I have way too many notes.
I want
Uh,
to point out the sequence when the character of Robert De Niro go to see the ex-wife. This second prove that De Niro is a very great actor. You see, he's emotional inside. You don't you see in his eyes and this the way he's moving. He's very sad. He's not feel okay, but he tried his best. It's not working, and you can see that is a good performance for the actor. I like this sequence. It's not a big sequence, not a long sequence, but the sequence when he talk with this ex-wife is a good sequence of the movie.
what I also think is very interesting and funny at the same time, he refused to be a corrupt person, but yet, because of his life, he kind of changed, and now his biggest incentive into doing something is the money. And for most of the movie, the character is like, "Yeah, I will bring you with me just because I want the money and all." And at the very end, when he let go the guy, that's interesting. Um, I again, I think highly of that movie, despite my two issues. I liked it. When you turn off your brain, that's just a fun movie.
No, you
And
don't have to turn off your brain for those two issues. Those are non-issues. You can fully engage with this.
and what else? What else can I add? The fact that as the movie goes on, the main character becomes more considerate toward the prisoner was kind of interesting and fun. So again, there's a lot to say, and I had a blast watching this movie. And I guess I will let Dre talk now. What did you think of Midnight Run?
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am looking at this movie through like extremely rose-colored glasses. Like I said, I've probably seen this movie like I don't know 200 times, like way too many times. Anytime I'm like flipping through
Damn.
the channels and it's on, I end up watching this movie. And like that used to be all the time. This had a huge hit on cable for some reason. I think it was like USA, one of those big movie channels that would always play movies at night. It would just play this like nonstop. It seemed like it was on like every week. But I do think this was my dad's favorite movie. If it's not, then this is at least the one that he watched with me the most. And I gotta say, like every line in this is just like infinitely quotable. There's so many times where I don't know. For some reason, my dad really seemed to revere a lot of the lines from this one. So, like, I don't know if he was looking to talk to my brother and I answered the phone, he would say, "Is this moron number one? Put on moron number two." It just like I don't know. There's just so many infinitely quotable lines from this. Just I love this one. But I guess let me start at the beginning. So I think this is my favorite De Niro film. That being said, he's in a bunch of awesome ones, but there's something about just how I like the character that he plays with Jack Walsh. Just the fact that he is this kind of morally gray character, but he does live by a code. Like Multi was talking about, it does seem to be all about the money. However, he prides himself in never taking a payoff. He could have taken a payoff from Dennis Farina's character at any point, but he decides not to. He's a man of principle. His life completely gets ruined for it. And then the Duke tells him, "I've got money." He doesn't understand what that means at the moment, but he knows that he stole a bunch. What is it, 5 million or 15 million? Now I'm forgetting the
I
number
think it
of
was
million.
15 million.
50, 50, 50.
50.
15,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm way off. Yeah, okay, so I'm off by a multitude of that. But he knew that he stole a ton of money, that he could pay him more than $100,000, but he has a job and he has been tasked with getting him from New York to LA, and he is going to do that by midnight on day 5. So yeah, I just absolutely love this character. That being said, I love a lot of other performances from De Niro, like so before this he had done Deer Hunter, Raging Bull, King of Comedy, Brazil, and he had just recently come off of The Untouchables. I like all of those movies, and I like all of his performances in and Once Upon a Time in America, but I don't know that I would want to watch those movies like every day. I don't think I could have watched any of those like hundreds of times, where there's something about this one where I totally could. And maybe that's because of kind of everybody that was involved in it, but it was written by George Gallo, who before this, he had written this movie to Brian De Palma one called Wise Guys. It's an interesting kind of lesser known kind of mob comedy about 2 dudes trying to make it as made men, but they're kind of the just underlings in that, and they're kind of like the moron number 1 and moron number 2 in this one. So it's an interesting story. And then that guy went on to write Bad Boys, and then he gets credit on all the future Bad Boys movies. But he has a way of kind of writing these buddy comedies that are interesting and usually have kind of a mob or police bend to them. And then it's directed by Martin Brest, who he had just gotten off of Beverly Hills Cop, and had he not done that, he wouldn't have had nearly as much pull, and this would have been a completely different movie because the studios were really trying to interfere. But since he had just come off of Beverly Hills Cop, he actually had some power, so he was able to kind of dictate it. But after this, he went on to do Son of a Woman and then Meet Joe Black. And then in 2003, he ended his career by doing the movie Jiggly or Geely. He could not recover from that, where he had almost a perfect run. You could argue that Meet Joe Black wasn't as good. It's not a great movie, but it's got this amazing crash scene that almost everybody talks about. It's got some very iconic things with it. And then just, the biggest flop of 2000. Well, I don't know. I guess Kevin Smith's Jersey Girl might have been a bigger flop than Geely, but hard to say. And it's kind of in that same whirlwind because it is the whole Bennifer thing. But the other weird thing that this movie had going for it is it was released the exact same day as Die Hard. So when you kind of think of an 88 action movie, you're going to probably go Die Hard. You're probably not going to put this in the running, which is really weird. I actually just watched a Siskel and Ebert episode.
Yeah, it was up against. Well, if it was up against Die Hard, it was up against like some serious competition. So it's.
Yeah,
I think it's a testament that that it did so well despite being, up against Die Hard.
I had seen many times Die Hard, and I knew about Die Hard. I knew about Midnight Run, but I never had seen the movie. I heard about it, but Die Hard, I did see it many times in the past. So that was big competition, as Superbald says.
So what I was saying earlier, I couldn't sleep. So I went on to YouTube for no reason. Oh, by the way, those TV movies of the sequels, they're on YouTube. So if you do want to watch it, you can. I would recommend against it. But yeah, so while I got on YouTube, I happened to see an old.
I might watch it next time. I might watch it next time I can't sleep. It might put me to sleep.
Yeah, it might help you. But it's Christopher McDonald. That dude's awesome. Who doesn't? Gavin. Yeah, so I was watching this Siskel and Ebert from back in '88, where both of these movies, both Die Hard and Midnight Run, were released. They both gave 2 emphatic thumbs up for Midnight Run, where Siskel gave a thumbs up for Die Hard, and Ebert really hated it. He thought that it was just bad to make it essentially this whatever you want to call it, bottle movie where it's all in one location, and he hated it. He thought that the police were just this horrible addition to it, that just the police captain who said like you're gonna pay for all this was just over the top, and it was a horrible movie. So even with Siskel and Ebert being split on Die Hard, it just killed it at the box office, where this one, it didn't do so good at first, and then the word of mouth kind of spread with it. It was a time where movies could sit in the theaters a little bit longer. So it originally had a $35 million budget, and it did end up making 81.6, so almost 82. So it more than doubled the budget, which is good. It was a success, but it wasn't like a raging success like Die Hard. So it's kind of tough. And then, as Superbald was saying, it's very similar to planes, trains, and automobiles in that they use planes, trains, and automobiles. They're on one side of the country trying to get to the other side by a certain date. One of those time bomb ones. You have to get from point A to point B within this amount of time. It's a trope that everybody's seen a million times. And there was a rather successful one that was a comedy just like a year before. But this one's a little bit different. So they had De Niro signed on for it. He wanted to get into comedy, and he kind of had a little taste of it with Brazil a couple years earlier, but he really wanted to be in a balls out.
And his role in Brazil is really small. I mean, he's in the movie for like what?
It is
5 minutes total.
I think so, something like that. But it's very memorable, as he's got the suit and everything. It's pretty great. But it's just an interesting thing because what they were trying to do, instead of hire Charles Grodin, they had a couple different people lined up. So initially they wanted Albert Brooks, which I think that would have worked. It would have been kind of cool. They were talking about possibly getting Dreyfuss in there, but the studio was really pushing Cher. So they wanted to make the Charles Grodin character actually Cher, so it would be a female. And then it would have been a completely different tone. So they had some sort of contract. I think it was Paramount had some sort of contract with her. So they were really trying to push this on Martin Brest. And if he didn't have kind of the cachet of just having Beverly Hills Cop, I think we would have seen a really forgettable movie with Cher. And then right after that, before Grodin was cast, there was a lot of talks of, hey, let's put Robin Williams in that part. I just cannot see that working. Robin Williams is not known as kind of the silent straight man. I just don't see this movie working at all. Even though I love Robin Williams, there's no shot that this would be the same type of movie. So the casting in it, I think every single person is perfect from every little role that is in there. It is just kind of amazing, but De Niro is great. Grodin's great. Yaphet Kotto's amazing. John Ashton's great. But even like the bit parts in there, Robert Miranda, who plays Jerry, the dude who just answers the phone, like, man, that dude is just so spot on. Is like, let's celebrate. I'll go get donuts. Like, I don't know. It just, I feel like I know every one of these characters. Like every one of them is fully fleshed out, and they feel legit to me.
Yeah, Joe,
a lot of movies kind of
as well.
Oh, Joey Pants is the best, man. And he went against type. So him playing Eddie Moscone from Moscone Bail Bonds. It was originally supposed to be, they imagine kind of a hulking, like 300 plus pound guy. So they wanted to give him the part of either moron number one or moron number two. And he's like, I don't want to do that. I've done enough mob parts. What I want to do is the bail bondsman. And they're like, well, no, like we can't just give you that. You'd have to come in and read for it. And then the way that he and De Niro kind of played off of each other was just perfect. The way that they could just kind of yell at each other. And, you can tell that there's a transactional relationship and they kind of despise each other, but at the same time, they need each other. That to me is just like perfect casting. But I think the holdover of like, let's celebrate, I'll go get donuts. I think that is kind of a holdover from they're expecting a much bigger character, like somebody that would enjoy donuts. It doesn't look like Joey Pants necessarily would. But just everything about this is kind of perfect for me. And then on top of all of these characters being fully fleshed out and like every actor just being perfect for this, man, there's so many like running jokes or running bits that just get paid off so well. Jack's watch. I guess that is something that De Niro just wanted to have as like a character trait. So he's always like tapping his watch, trying to hear if it's actually working or whatever. It seems to be an inconsistent watch. That is something that De Niro brought to this character, but they were able to kind of work that in flawlessly with everything else in there and make it actually a payoff in the movie. The whole sunglasses thing, man, that running bit it really works for me. Alonzo's badge, the fact that he's using it everywhere. Even so, sorry, going back to the actors, even the kid on the plane who's sitting there next to De Niro while he's making his fake FBI badge, who's like, how does this look? It looks good to me. I don't know, that kid is like even perfectly cast for that. Like it just he seems like somewhat concerned, but at the same time he's evaluating it, and he thinks it'll pass. But the whole bit with Alonso's badge, and then everybody being like, hey, "Is everybody named what's Mosley in the FBI?" I could not remember Alonso's last name, and then Alonso stealing Dorfler's cigarettes. I love that, and that keeps coming back. Jack getting Dorfler to look over there. I think that has an amazing payoff, and it just keeps happening. It sets up that Dorfler is able to use the car door as a weapon. They even set that up prior to the credits in a great way. Yeah, the Duke saying that he has money. He says it like a bunch of different times, but you don't necessarily take it in the context in which he's trying to say. He doesn't mention that he's got a money belt on him. But yeah, and then Jerry getting the celebration donuts, Jack and Dorfler being pitted against each other for different bounties so that Marscone can pay less. When the Duke keeps asking him about his wife, why doesn't he talk to his wife? Why doesn't he talk to his kids? And then you actually get to see it, and the way that it unfolds, it could be a really sappy thing, but the way that they kind of keep calling back to it and then pay it off, for me, it totally works. And then along the same lines, the Duke also asks him, why aren't you a cop anymore? It also unfolds in the same way, but the whole fear of flying thing, that comes up a few times, and then you kind of understand where that was coming from, and the Duke just didn't want to get killed, essentially. And then the whole lack of cash thing, the way that they kind of keep going with that as well, and then the way that it ends up getting paid off with the whole Lipness configuration. I love a lot of the payoffs in this. It seems to really work. There's a lot of really snappy and smart dialogue. Again, there's just so many quotes from this. Anytime that there was like surf and turf on the menu, for some reason, my dad would always go like surf and turf action and do like the hand thing that De Niro always does. I don't know. This movie just kind of sticks with me, and kind of the more times that you end up watching it, you got to see like the more character intricacies. The true characters of these people are like when Moron and number 1 and number 2 are calling up the boss to tell him, yeah, it didn't go as planned, and the one is telling him how he failed, but the other one is like boxing him. There's little character traits that just kind of work for me, and they just kind of keep working. It doesn't seem to get worse as it goes along. There's some really beautiful and iconic shots. The one that really comes to mind for me is it's a shot from behind De Niro after he's all bruised, covered in dust, and he's kind of holding his ribs, but he's looking out at the red rocks and just this beautiful landscape. That really sticks out to me. De Niro saying goodbye to his daughter when she comes out. She's essentially trying to like empty her piggy bank to give him to help him, even though he hasn't seen her in like 9 years. That almost makes me choke up. It almost makes me feel like a human. The airport exchange at the end, that always kind of gets me, the whole see in another life thing. That could be done really cheesily, that, it's a happy ending. Everybody gets kind of what they want. The Duke gets to go on his way, and, De Niro gets a big payday. But the way that they're able to do it, it feels like it's a decent payoff. And then the first class on the airplane, that is what I always thought that first class on an airplane would be like. You can smoke, you've got an actual menu, they've got real tables and stuff, and there's like stairs going upstairs.
It was like that at one point, but not anymore.
Was it? Yeah, maybe I just never got to experience one of those planes, because like it says.
Well, I never flew first class, but I've heard heard from people who have that. Yeah, at some point it was like that. At least the smoking part. And
yes, and I mean every plane I've ever been in has an ashtray for some reason, but
that's actually FAA regulations. Because even though smoking is banned, they know some people are going to do it anyway, so they want to at least have somewhere where they can put out their cigarette instead of like trying to hide it behind a panel or something and start a fire.
That makes sense. But yeah, it's just. That's what I expected to see, like the first time I got on a plane. And I've ridden on 747s, which one of the shots on the outside shows 747. They're not like that. I swear they don't have staircases going to a second upper deck, but maybe they've vastly changed them.
It depends. I'm a bit of a plane aficionado. It depends on on which series of the 747.
Well, fair enough. You were way more of an expert than me, but that's what I was expecting. And then, I flew on a plane. It's like a bus. This is not the
Yeah.
same. Uh,
Yeah, it's definitely
yeah.
changed.
And then there's an epic car crash in the desert. When I think of like 80s car crashes, for some reason I think of the like 20 cop cars that they just completely wreck in the desert in this for no reason. It does seem like they would have seen the giant ditches that they just all drive into, or when one drives in, the other one would stop, but no. So I don't know. There's some really amazing shots that I see in this. The other thing is, as you mentioned, Danny Elfman is the composer in this. The score to me is epic, but man, it is the least Danny Elfman score from Elfman I've ever heard. Just it is kind of that upbeat 80s blues, but man, it's moving. For a road trip movie, I guess it has to be kind of a lot based on the music. It has to be kind of it has to have some movement to it, and this it really does. It's kind of like a hoppy score, and I really dig it. I actually didn't know it was Elfman until the last time I watched it, just this last weekend, and it's like, really, that's an Elfman score? Maybe that's why I like it so much. But yeah, it just, to me, you could have given me 10 names, and there's no way I would have ever pointed out Elfman. It just does not sound like that dude. But it's an amazing score, and it really kind of sticks with me. Even now, I can hear the horns kind of stabbing in a perfect way. But yeah, I think this might be my favorite road trip movie. There are a bunch of them that are very much like this. We mentioned Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but Matt was also mentioning like Due Date, which seems like it's almost the exact same type of movie where you've got kind of the straight man character that you kind of associate with, and he's going with somebody on the road who really annoys him. They have to take a bunch of different forms of transportation, but that one really fails for me. Just Galifianakis really gets on my nerves. I love the character, or I love the actor. That character just is so grating. Where Charles Grodin in this, you can see him get under De Niro's skin, but he's not necessarily the most annoying character. Like, yeah, it would be kind of suck. It would kind of suck if he's telling you like you probably shouldn't smoke. Secondhand smoke kills. And then every time you want to eat like a burger or something, he's telling you about your cholesterol and that you're killing yourself. Yeah, that would be kind of bad. But I don't know. It all seems. I really enjoy him in this.
I'm like that guy. I keep telling people, stop smoking. You will end up with a respiratory machine.
Well, I'm glad you're only Grodin annoying and you're not Galifianakis annoying in this one. But yeah, like it's not rare ground that this movie treads, but the execution of it just works so well for me. Just the interplay between Jack Walsh and Jonathan Mardukas, Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro, they just have this chemistry. And I guess it kind of is an epic bromance movie. It really is kind of a model of a pretty good relationship. There is some give and take. There is some snappy dialogue, and they do seem to kind of understand each other. Like when they finally do get on the train, Mardukas essentially has the conversation that they would have, but with himself. He starts talking, and then he starts talking for Jack, telling him like, "Oh, shut the fuck up." And I don't know, it's kind of great. And there was quite a bit of improv in this. I guess Martin Brest was telling Charles Grodin, "Okay, you got to make De Niro laugh on this take." And everything that he tried just was super deadpan. De Niro wanted to play the character like he plays him. He is the straight man. He doesn't want to laugh. He doesn't want to act like he actually understands the comedy that's going on around him. So he tried a bunch of different lines and nothing worked. And then it finally got like, have you ever considered having sex with animals? What about the chickens back there at the reservation? Apparently, like that's an actual reaction from Robert De Niro, where he's like, okay, there were a couple of them back there that I might have taken a shot at. And they're both kind of laughing. It is an actual improv moment, but De Niro was not expecting that. It was just a line off the top from Charles Grodin. And it shows that they really got these characters to me. But yeah, I just absolutely love that we are following this morally gray character who he won't take this payoff, but at the same time, he is willing to just, lie, cheat, and steal. He is not above picking locks. He is not above kind of lying to the people that he's with. and he is taking part in the litmus configuration where he's telling them, okay, this bill's fake, this one's that whole section in Red's bar is just perfect to me. I absolutely love like all of the dialogue where finally Charles Grodin is like, okay, I got this scam, let me go through it. And then man, his entire just every line of questioning to them, the tone is just absolutely perfect and the dialogue is just so great. Again, he starts with that. What did the guy look like? He's like, he's tall. He's like, yeah, 6 feet, 6'5". And his hair was dark. It was light hair. He's like, yep, that's the guy. I absolutely love that entire section. Like it works out so perfectly for me. And there's just kind of more that you can see each time where like when he's at the desk and his credit card has been canceled, you can kind of see just the facial reactions that Charles Grodin is having. You usually focus on the desk clerk and Robert De Niro since they're the ones actually talking, having the dialogue in the scene. But man, if you just look at Grodin, like, well, Jack is doing his thing. It's such great reactions. And that's what a lot of this is just those subtle, it's not the actual dialogue, but it's the reaction that they're getting just below the surface. Man, it's just priceless for me. And then I think the happy ending is totally earned in this case. I think you can make it completely sappy. But man, they earn it for me by setting up that, he's not necessarily above taking money for doing things that are a little bit gray, if you will. But yeah, he doesn't want to take a payoff. So they make it really clear that he has decided to let him go. He just wanted to live by his code and he wanted to prove it to himself that he could get him there by midnight. And that to me, it makes it so worth it. Where I think, you could really change the tone of this quite a bit. And I don't think that would feel quite as earned. It would just be like, okay, yeah, he's got money. He paid him off. But for me, it hits that perfect note. And I guess it did get like 7 nominations for a bunch of different things, including 2 Golden Globes nominations. It got nominated for Best Picture and then Best Actor for De Niro. It did not win either of those. But yeah, just in all my years watching it, I never would have thought that this was a Golden Globes picture. But yeah, I really dig it. And they made some changes to the script. They ended up really liking John Ashton's character and his portrayal of him. Originally, he was actually supposed to die. So when he brings out the Polaroid, he wasn't supposed to get knocked out there by the mob guys. Instead, he was supposed to actually get taken out because he's been too much of a distraction and they don't need him anymore. But yeah, I'm really glad that Dorfler's still out there in the world somewhere. I really like these characters. I really like that they're living on. But yeah, I would strongly suggest against watching the sequels. They're not the same.
No sequel is the same. What would be your grade out of 10, except if you'd like to add more to this?
I feel like I've probably said too much. I'm
Not
probably rating
always.
this with. I feel like I'm probably rating this too high with nostalgia, but I don't know. For me, this is like an 8 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie, but damn, is it a fun movie? And I feel like I could watch it like anytime.
And when it comes to me, 9.5 out of 10. Because I only had 2 issues. What about you, Superbald?
I would go with an 8.5 out of 10. And actually, while Gary was talking, I realized something, that the scene with the shootout with the helicopter, that was a really common thing back in the 80s with action movies and stuff like that. It seems that like a shootout with a helicopter was very common back then.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
But actually taking one out with like a pistol, like this
Mhm.
taught me, or at least put it in my mind that I could do that. All I have to do is shoot out the rotor fin, and then I'm
Yeah.
good.
I think that's the only one I saw where they did that, because normally they would just have a really lucky shot and get the
Pilot.
either the gunman or the pilot.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? What would be your grade out of 10?
I will say like a 8 of 10. It's a good 80s movie, action comedy with Robert De Niro. The concept work pretty well. Sure, is the formula is common is era is this period of time, but for this time is a pretty solid concept, and so for me it's a 8 or 10, a said 8 of 10. It's not a phenomenal movie. It's not for me the best of the Robert De Niro, but with the Robio in it, this movie is better with him. I don't think with another actor is work as good as with Robert De Niro. So yeah, for me, 8 of 10.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing. Now that we are there, what do you have going on your end of the internet?
Same old. See movie and TV show, and I write about them in French, so not for your audience, this podcast. And my life is pretty much that. Play video games sometime. I'm not a big life, sorry, but it's that for me.
It's fine. It's fine. What about you, Superbald? What do you have going on?
Your audio is off. It's doing that thing you told me about where you sound incredibly loud.
Yeah.
But
Good
to answer
times.
your question, nah, same old. Just this podcast,
Well,
which
hell
I have a
yeah.
great time.
We're glad that
Which I have a great time with every week.
Yeah,
well, we're glad
it's
that you're
always
here
funny.
joining us, man. And then I got nothing. There's a bunch of videos I'm in the middle of, but yeah, I haven't released anything in a long time. But yeah, videos eventually. Other than that, check out Multi's channel. I appear every now and then. Multi, let me assume what you got going on. A million things, and you got multiple channels. I don't know. That's all I got.
I think my mic is it back? Is it working?
You're back to normal.
Okay. I ate my mic. It's about time I will change it eventually soon. Soon. I keep telling that to myself. But Gray is right. Many channel, a lot of things. Tomorrow, if Mandalore feels well, we will do one last review for Skeleton Crew. We did enjoy that. Did you watch Skeleton Crew, Gray? Gray? You're
Oh,
muted if you speak, Gray.
Gray's
Sorry about that. My
missing.
dogs were freaking out. Yes, I saw Skeleton Crew. I love it for what it is. It's not necessarily my favorite thing, but man, I love those 80s movies, and this is just like a knockoff of not a knockoff, an homage to any one of those 80s kids explorer movies. It's awesome.
So if you're available tomorrow, if we are lucky, maybe we will have a guest appearance of Gray, if he wants to join us tomorrow for the last Skeleton Crew talk. Thursday, maybe Matt will join me to talk about Back in Action, a movie that came out this month, like 2 weeks ago. I don't know when exactly.
2 week ago in Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah. For Netflix movies, I liked my experience with it. It's not perfect, but like for Netflix movie, that's a good flick. Uh, anyway, next Monday, I will talk about Dogman, the animated movie that will come out Friday. Um, hopefully, Super Bowl, you will have the time to go see that one because you did show some interest in the past.
Yeah, I am working on it. It's right now it's about 50-50 if I'll be able to make it, but I would like to.
So let me know if you happen to see it, and if you do, well, we will have your appearance on Monday show, basically at the same time, but talking about Dogman. Um, what else? Over the weekend, I don't know how it will go, but next Tuesday we will talk about James Bond. Um, never say never again, and that's the perfect time for the outro.
Yo, it's the Red Blue Podcast crew. Reviewing flicks, both old and new. Red and blue, not political. Nah, man, chill. It was Marvel versus DC till we lost that thrill. Don't stress the episode, don't ask the season. We double up franchises, don't ask for a reason. Mochi's got rules that nobody gets. His takes on movies, they're wild as it gets. He's got Superbald Mac and Gray by his side, trying to keep it sane while they're in for the ride. Mochi's measures are out of control, but in the end he's got the final role. Yeah, that Blue Podcast, come check the scene. Movies old and new, know what I mean? Yeah, that Blue Podcast, come check the scene. Movies old and new, know what I mean? The Red Blue Podcast, come check the scene. Movies old and new, know what I mean?